Then I'm sure you're aware of how important Freud believed the childhood to be when it comes to psychological development, Roger said. And I also know that it's complete hogwash. Do people still read that nonsense? Now, that B.F. Skinner fellow on the other hand, he's onto something. Yes, well, there are indeed many proponents of Skinner's behaviorist approach to things, but I found that all of my most successful interviews came about when I employed some of Freud's teachings. Well, you are the professional, so I suppose I'll take your word for it just this once. Roger laughed politely, his aura of professionalism never seeming to disappear. Anyway, in preparation for this interview, I read some of your older ones, Roger said. It seems that you had quite the reputation for being a bit of a recluse. I was curious to see how close you were with the rest of your family. Not much to say on that. My dad was an alcoholic, but he wasn't the kind who would beat you. Rather, he was the kind who would beat himself. And I mean that both in the physical and the metaphorical sense. I spent so much time feeling sorry for him, I never got the chance to feel sorry for myself, Samuel said, chuckling bitterly. My mom was also fairly distant. She never said much, except for when she happened to come across a bottle of wine, which started getting more and more common as I got older. Then she'd have all sorts of things to say, none of them pleasant. She was the kind who would beat you. She'd pick fights with the other women in the neighborhood, and she even beat my dad on more than one occasion. She never hit me though, oddly enough. Samuel drifted off into the distance when he said this, a flood of painful memories flowing through him. Those old gears in his head hadn't spun in a long time, but even so, this started just the same as if they had only stopped turning yesterday. He was surprised at how easily this was coming out. Only a few moments ago, he was on the defense about his past, but Roger somehow managed to lower his guard. He was right, he supposed. Roger was a professional. Interesting. It sounds like you grew up in a very rough environment. Did your parents ever get a chance to patch things up with you when you got older? Why are you so interested in my family? I thought this interview was supposed to be about me. Yes, of course, Mr. Monroe. I just want to get a full picture of everything. Readers like it when the interview starts to feel like a story with a beginning and an end. If I don't ask these questions, well, I'm sure that I'll be getting a lot of letters from disappointed fans. Well, if that's how it's going to be, Samuel began, looking out through the living room window. My dad and I were really close, actually. Even when I moved out, we were always talking to each other and sending telegrams and the like. He was even at my retirement ceremony. It wasn't his fault the way that he was. With a wife like my mom, who could blame him?